Welcome to Shahnameh, Book of Kings. Today we begin the Reign of Yazdegerd. After the death of Farrokhzad, Yazdegerd became king in the month of September on the day of Ard. He sat in splendor on the imperial throne and placed the crown on his head. He said, "By the revolutions of the turning sky, I am the descendant of Nushan Ravan. From father to son, the realm is mine, and the sun and the constellations, Virgo and Pisces, are favorable to my reign. I shall confer greatness on the lowly, and I shall not harm the mighty. I do not seek for glory and knowledge, or for warfare and valor, since time and good fortune, wealth, the royal crown, and the throne stay with no man. It is a good reputation we must strive for. Not our own personal pleasure is to be ignored, and reputation made our goal." And so he ruled for 16 years, while the moon and the sun passed over his head. Omar, who was then the commander of the Arab armies, sent Saud, the son of Bacchus, with an army against the king. Hearing news of this, Yazdegerd gathered troops from all quarters and ordered the son of Hormuz to lead them against the invader. This man's name was Rostam. He was an astute, intelligent man and a fine warrior. He was also a very knowledgeable astrologer who paid attention to the advice of priests. He set out within nobility under his command, and everyone who was capable of fighting well accompanied him. For 30 months they skirmished, until the army made a stand at Qadisiyah. Rostam was a just, kind man. In his capacity as an astrologer, he said to himself, "This battle will not turn out unfavorably. These times are unfavorable to kings. Their current cannot flow in such channels." He took his astrolabe and observed the stars, and when he saw the day of disaster that loomed, he buried his head in his hands. He wrote a letter to his brother, beginning with praise of God, who brings both good and evil fates to pass. Then he continued, "A wise man will be saddened when he learns of how the moving spear of heaven turns. Caught in the evil clutch of Ahriman, I am the time's most sad and sinful man. This house will lose all trace of sovereignty, of royal glory, and of victory. The sun looks down from its exalted sphere and sees the day of our defeat draw near. Both Mars and Venus now oppose our cause, and no man can evade the heavens' laws. Saturn and Mercury divide the sky. Mercury rules the house of Gemini. Ahead of us lie war and endless strife, such that my failing heart despairs of life. I see what has to be, and choose the way of silence, since there is no more to say. But for the Persians, I will weep, and for the house of Sassan, ruined by this war, alas, for their great crown and throne, for all the royal splendor, destined now to fall, to be fragmented by the Arabs' might. The stars decree for us defeat and flight. 400 years will pass in which our name will be forgotten and devoid of fame. They've sent a messenger who says to me, they'll leave our sovereign all his territory, from Qadisiyah to the river. But for trade's sake, they require a highway cut through our domains, no more than this. They'll pay us taxes, offer hostages, obey our king as theirs, but these are words, not acts, and have no correspondence with the facts. There will be war, and in this conflict, no many lion warriors will die. And all my commanders, to a man like Meru from wide Tabastal, like Armani and Kabul, all these who fight with heavy maces to oppose our enemies, reject their words and say, who are these upstarts who have dared to stray across Mazandarian's and Persia's borders? For good or bad, then, issue us your orders, and let our swords and maces drive them back. We'll press them hard, enough when we attack. They cannot know the fate the stars foretell. These stars, which always treat us so well, as soon as you have read this, don't delay, but make plans quickly and be on your way. Gather together our nobility, their wealth and slaves, horses and property. Azerbaijan must be your refuge now. If Persian troops Come from Zabul, allow them all you can enclose in charity. Treat them friendly, hospitably, but watch the turning heaven. It's from there that we are granted comfort in despair. Say to our mothers all I've said, but then tell her she'll never see my face again. Give her my greetings and comfort her, and see she does not grieve too desperately for me. If someone brings sad news of me, don't let your sorrow weaken you. You should not set our hearts on this world, where our wealth is won by pain is another's when we're gone. Devote your heart to God, and as you pray, ignore this fleeting world which jades away. The king will not see Rostam any more, since fate has driven me to fight this war. Have all our people pray throughout the night, both young and old, until the morning light. Be generous to the poor, and in your sorrow, trust in God's help. Give no thought to the morrow. And as for me, my fate's to fight, to lead our armies in our country's hour of need. May Persia flourish, but I know that I will not survive this battle and must die. When once the king is threatened, give no thought to wealth or life, to all that you have sought. Do not be weak or hesitant, but strive with all your strength to keep the king alive. Since of this noble line the king alone still lives, the house of Sassan and its throne depend on him. And after him the race of Sassan will be gone and leave no trace. Alas, now for their crown, their court, and for their throne that will be shattered in this war. Farewell now. Live for the king. Be his shield. Defend him, sword in hand, and never yield. But when the pulpit's equal to the throne, and Abu Bakr's and Omar's names are known, our long travails will be as naught, and all the glory we have known will fade and fall. The stars are with the Arabs, and you'll see no crown or throne, no royal sovereignty. Long days will pass until a worthless fool will lead his followers and presume to rule. They'll dress in black. Their headdresses will be made of twisted lengths of silk or black brocade. There'll be no golden boots or banners then, or crowns, and thrones will not be seen again. Some will rejoice while others live in fear. Justice and charity will disappear. At night, the time to hide away and sleep, men's eyes will glitter to make others weep. Strangers will rule us then, and with their might they'll plunder us and turn our days to night. They will not care for just or righteous men. Deceit and fraudulence will flourish them. Warriors will go on foot, while puffed up pride and empty boast will arm themselves and ride. The peasantry will suffer from neglect. Lineage and skill will garner no respect. Men will be mutual thieves and have no shame. Curses and blessings will be thought the same. What's hidden will be worse than what is known, and stony-hearted kings will seize the throne. No man will trust his son, and equally no son will trust his father's honesty. A misbegotten slave will rule the earth. Greatness and lineage will have no worth. No one will keep his word, and men will find the tongue as filled with evil as the mind. Then Persians, Turks, and Arabs, side by side, will live together, mingled far and wide. The three will blur as if they were the same. Their language will be a trivial game. Men will conceal their wealth, but when they've died, their foes will pilfer everything they hide. Men will pretend they're holy or they're wise to make a livelihood by telling lies. Sorrow and anguish, bitterness and pain will be as happiness was in the reign of Bahram Kur, mankind's accustomed fate. There'll be no feasts, no festivals of state, no pleasures, no musicians, none of these. But there'll be lies and traps and treacheries. Sour milk will be our food, coarse cloth our dress, and greed for money will breed bitterness between the generations. Men will cheat each other while they calmly counterfeit religious faith. The winter and the spring will pass mankind unmarked. No one will bring the wine to celebrate such moments then. Instead, they'll spill the blood of fellow men. These thoughts have dried my mouth. My cheeks turn pale. I feel my sickened heart in me fail, for since I was a soldier, I've not known such dark days to beset the royal throne. The heavens have betrayed us, and they spurn our supplications as they cruelly turn my tempered sword that fought with elephants and lions, and now I know be no defense against these naked Arabs, and all I see has only multiplied my misery. Would that I had no knowledge, did not know the good and evil that the heavens show. The noble warriors who are with me here despise the Arabs, and they show no fear. They think they'll turn the plain into a flood on oxus flowing with these Arabs' blood. None of them know the heavens' will or how immense a task awaits armies now. When fate withdraws its favors, why wage war? What is the point of fighting anymore? My brother, may God keep you safe. May you comfort the royal heart by all you do. My grave is Cadicia's battlefield. My crown will be my blood, my shroud my shield. The heavens will this. May my death not cause your heart to grieve too much at heaven's laws. Watch the king always, and prepare to give your life in battle so that he may live. The day comes soon when heaven's fear will be like Ahriman, our bitterest enemy. He sealed the letter and summoned a messenger, saying to him, "Take this quickly to my brother, and tell him everything that is appropriate." He also sent a messenger who rode like lightning to Saad. The letter was written on white silk, and the scribe's script glittering like the sun. It was addressed, "From the son of Hormozd, the king, Rostam the benevolent and foremost warrior of the world, to Saad, the son of Vakus, who seeks war, and has made the world a dark and narrow place for himself." The message began, "May the great God whom we must fear, who has founded the turning heaven, and whose rule is one of justice and love, bless our prince, who is an adornment to the crown, the throne, and the royal seal, who is the lord of the sword and crown, and whose glory binds Ahriman's evils. A contemptible business has been set afoot, involving pointless suffering and warfare. Tell me who your king is, and what kind of man you are, and what your customs and intentions are. You are a naked commander, leading a naked army. On whose behalf are you fighting? Bread satisfies you, but you hunger for something more. You've no elephants, no thrones, no baggage train. Simple life in Iran would be enough for you. The crown and royal seal belong to another man, who has elephants, treasures, glory, power, and who is king by right of descent from father to son. When he appears, the moon is absent from the sky, and no king on earth has his stature. When he smiles at a banquet, he gives away the ransom of the Arabs' leaders, and his treasures remain undiminished by the gift. He has 12,000 hunting dogs, cheetahs, and hawks, all with golden bells and ears decorated with jewels, in a year that plains with the Arabs live, and could not provide the food that his dogs and cheetahs run down in the hunt. His dogs and cheetahs eat more than you, and the cost is as nothing to the king. Is there no shame in your eyes? Have you no wisdom or benevolence? And with your appearance, your lineage, your customs and character, you hope to gain the crown and throne? If you have ambitions in the world, and your words are not mere idle chatter, send me an experienced, eloquent warrior who can explain to me what your intentions are, and who has led you to the Persian throne. Then we'll send a knight to the king to make your request known. Don't make war against the king, because the end can only be a sorrowful one for you. He is descended from the world ruler, Nushan-Ravan, and his justice makes old men young again. His ancestors were kings, and he is a king, and time cannot show his equal. Do not make all the world curse you. A just, wise man who is not of royal lineage will not seek the throne. Look carefully at the advice I give you in this letter, and do not close your eyes and ears to wisdom." The letter was sealed, and he handed it to the nobleman Perez, the son of Shapur, who took it to Saad, the son of Vaquus. The Persian nobles waited, untroubled in their spirits, dressed in armor lavishly covered in gold and silver, with their golden shields and golden belts. Saad went out with his warriors to welcome the noble messenger. They brought him to the camp, and Saad questioned him about the king, his advisers, his army, and its commander. They spread a simple cloak for Perez to sit on, and Saad said, "Our business is with swords and spears. Men worth the name don't talk about brocade or gold or silver. We're sleeping and eating." The noble Perez handed over the letter and repeated Rostam's words. Saad heard him out and read the letter, which astonished him. He wrote an answer in Arabic, setting out things that were good and things that were ugly. He wrote about jinns and human beings, about the words of Hashmite prophet, about the unity of God and the Quran, about what was promised and what was threatened, about God's support and the new ways, about the burning pitch and icy cold of hell, about the horse and streams, the camphor and water, the trees and wine and honey of paradise. Then he wrote, "If the king accepts this true faith, he will prosper in both this world and the next. He will keep his crown and royal earrings and live forever in splendor. Mohammed will intercede for his sins, and his body will be like distilled rosewater. So seeds that you will reap in paradise. It is wrong to plant hatred in the garden of disaster. I would not exchange the sight of one hair of our hour from heaven for the person of Yazdegerd himself. Together with the wide earth and its orchard, castles, palaces, throne rooms, feasts, and festivals. In this fleeting world, your eyes have been dazzled by crowns and wealth. You trust in the ivory throne, in cheetahs and hawks and royal benevolence. But this world is not worth one gulp of sweet water. So why should it trouble your heart so much? Any man who opposes me in battle will see nothing but a narrow grave. And hell, if you join with me, your battle will be in paradise. Consider carefully which you will choose." He set the Arab seal on the paper and invoked the name of Mohammed. He told Shobo Mohara to take the letter to the warrior Rostam. The Persian commander was told, "A weak old man is coming as a messenger. He has neither horse nor armor, and he can hardly see. He carries a thin sword on his shoulder, and his clothes are tattered." Rostam had a brocade tent prepared, and spread with Chinese carpets woven with gold. His troops were drawn up as thickly as ants or locusts. A golden chair was placed there, and Rostam seated himself on it. Around him were gathered 60 of his warlike cavalry officers, dressed in purple clothes, woven with gold, and wearing golden shoes, torques, and earrings. The tent itself was royally adorned. When Shobe reached the tent, he did not set foot on the carpets. He stood humbly in the dust, leaning against his sword as if it were a staff. Then he sat on the earth and paid no attention to anyone. He did not even look at the Persian commander. Rostam greeted him. "May your soul rejoice, your spirit know wisdom, and your body flourish." Shobe replied, "Your name is well known. If you accept the true faith, I will be satisfied." Rostam bridled at these words. He frowned, and his face turned sallow. He took the letter from him and handed it to a scribe who read it to him. Rostam answered, "Tell your master, you are not a king, and you have no right to seek a crown. Speech is not a trivial matter for wise men, and you don't know what it is you're undertaking. If Saad wore the Sassanian crown, it would be an easy matter for me to fight on his behalf, but you should realize that your star is faithless. How can I explain to you that today will be a day of disaster? If Mohammed himself were your leader, I could speak according to the old faith about his new faith. But the hunchback sky will deal harshly with me. Return in peace, since there is no place to talk on the day of battle. Tell your master that it is better to die honorably in battle than to live while an enemy triumphs over you." Rostam ordered the trumpets be sounded, and his army surged forward like the sea. A cloud of dust rose up, and there was such a din of war cries that the sharpest ears were deafened. Like fire glimpsed through a purple curtain, diamond lances glittered in the darkened air. Spears struck against helmets, and men's heads were trampled by horses' hooves. The battle continued for 3 days. Then thirst made men's blows grow weaker, and their horses too faint to fight. Rostam's lips were dry as dust, his mouth was parched, and his tongue swollen and split. Both men and horses were so tormented by thirst that they ate damp clay. A cry like thunder went up from Rostam on the side and from Saad on the other. The two of them rode out from the body of their men and faced each other alone beneath a tall cypress tree. Rostam gave another thunderous cry and struck a sword blow against Saad's horse. The horse collapsed beneath him, and as Saad disentangled himself, Rostam lunged at him with his sharp sword to prevent him from rising. He intended to sever Saad's head from his body, but the dust of the battlefield hid Saad from his sight. He jumped down from his leopard-skin saddle and tied his horse's bridle to his belt. But while he was blinded by dust, Saad attacked and struck Rostam's helmet a mighty blow with his sword. Blood poured from Rostam's head, filling his eyes, and the ambitious Arab triumphed over him. Saad thrust his sword into Rostam's chest and neck and hurled his warlike body into the dust. The two armies were unaware of what was happening to their leaders and began to search for them. When they saw Rostam lying bloody in the dust and his pavilion slashed into pieces, the Persians fled, and many of their noblemen were slaughtered. Many died of thirst while still in the saddle, and in this way the lives of many local kings came to an end. The remnant of the army sought their king, riding hard by day and night. At this time, Yazdegerd was in Baghdad, and his soldiers flocked to him there. And here is where I end my tale for today, but I'll be back tomorrow with more tales, many more tales. Until then, my friends,